The Tempest is a play written by William Shakespeare around 1611. As such, the play is one of Shakespeare's final works, succeeded only by Henry VIII and The Two Noble Kinsmen. Thought to be based on a widely circulated letter written by shipwreck survivor William Strachey, The Tempest tells the story of Prospero, a magician ruler who conjures a tempest in an attempt to shipwreck the Italian nobles that wronged him and reclaim his dukedom. Resisting strict definitions of tragedy or comedy, the play is one of Shakespeare's most self-referential works, as Prospero's magic often stands in for the magic of the theater. The play opens on a ship during a violent tempest at sea. Along with the mariners struggling to keep the vessel from wrecking, those aboard the ship include Alonso, the King of Naples, his brothers Antonio and Sebastian, his son Ferdinand, and Gonzalo, his counselor. A spell overcomes the ship, and amid great terror and confusion, the nobles take shelter below deck, preparing to bid farewell to their king. Meanwhile, on a nearby island, Prospero, a brilliant magician and the rightful Duke of Milan, reveals to his daughter Miranda that he summoned the storm with the help of Ariel, a spirit of the island and his indentured servant. Assuring Miranda that none were harmed in the wreck, Prospero recounts the story of his brother Antonio, who usurped control of his kingdom and ordered Prospero and Miranda to be killed. Luckily, Gonzalo helped them to flee by boat, and they eventually landed on the island where they live now. Prospero tells Miranda that the tempest was part of his plan to reclaim the dukedom. Casting a sleeping spell over Miranda, Prospero then calls forth Ariel, who tells Prospero that his bidding is done. The king and his companions are unharmed and scattered about the island. When Prospero thanks him, Ariel reminds his master of his promise to deduct a year from his servitude, prompting Prospero to scold Ariel for his impudence. Waking Miranda, Prospero calls forth his other servant Caliban, a monstrous figure native to the island who has refused to adopt Prospero's civilized ways. Caliban angrily states his claim to the land, which was originally ruled by his mother and Ariel's previous master, Sycorax. But Prospero dismisses him, criticizing Caliban for his primitive ways. Ariel re-enters with Ferdinand, with whom Miranda immediately falls in love. Ferdinand returns her feelings and reveals his position as the Prince of Naples. Although Prospero secretly approves of their union, he decides it must not occur too quickly and imprisons Ferdinand, assigning him some of Caliban's tasks. Coming ashore with his companions, Alonso expresses his worry that Ferdinand has perished in the shipwreck. Ariel arrives, casting a sleeping spell over all but Antonio and Sebastian, who discuss their plan to seize the kingship for Sebastian by murdering Alonso and Gonzalo that evening. Hearing their plan, Ariel wakes Gonzalo, warning him that he is in danger. Meanwhile, Caliban encounters Trinculo, Alonso's court jester, and Stefano, Alonso's butler, who gets Caliban drunk. Inebriated, Caliban mistakes Stefano for a benevolent god and offers his service to him, forsaking Prospero, whom Caliban decides to kill. He also promises Stefano that, if Prospero dies, he will take his place as ruler of the island, winning Miranda in the process. Again, Ariel overhears, leaving to inform Prospero that he is in danger. Alonso and his companions abandon all hope of finding Ferdinand alive and are surprised to see a procession of spirits entering with a feast. Little do they know, Prospero is present as well, but has rendered himself invisible. Just as the men begin eating, Ariel enters in the form of a harpy, informs them that their shipwreck was an act of revenge for driving Prospero from Milan, and makes their feast vanish. The nobles are overcome by guilt and fear, interpreting Ariel's speech as a sign that Prospero is nearby. Meanwhile, Prospero is satisfied with Ferdinand's service and permits him to be with Miranda. Still, he warns the couple that they must not consummate the marriage until a ceremony can be performed. In celebration of their union, Prospero calls upon his spirits to perform a betrothal mask, which alludes to the secrets to a happy marriage. Remembering the plot against his life, Prospero apprehends the drunken Caliban, Trinculo, and Stefano. Caliban apologizes to Prospero, who forgives him. Ariel also apprehends Alonso and his companions, who await Prospero's judgment. But once again, Prospero decides against revenge, ordering Ariel to accompany the party back to Naples, after which he will be released from servitude. Alonso confesses his remorse for deposing Prospero, with whom he reconciles. Prospero then declares his intention to renounce magic and sail back to Naples with the party for the marriage of his daughter, after which he will reclaim his dukedom in Milan. Prospero has reservations about letting the traitorous Antonio and Sebastian go unpunished, and in contrast, praises Gonzalo for his loyalty. Still believing his son to be dead, Alonso is overjoyed when Prospero reveals that Ferdinand is not only alive, but also betrothed to Miranda. In a final act of goodwill, Prospero invites the group to pass one last night at his dwelling, promising to tell them the story of his and Miranda's survival after fleeing Italy. In a final aside, Prospero tells the audience that just as he imprisoned Ariel and Caliban, they have imprisoned him on the stage and asks them to set him free by applauding.